All right. I hope the volume is right. Let me see the volume. I want that loud. Wait. Anyway, I have professional lighting and everything, so bear with me. And as I begin to share, I got some regular little cheap lighting here. Not to blind me, but I want you to be able to see. Work with me for a minute. Anyway, how everybody doing today? Hope everybody's doing fine. I just want to talk a little while. First of all, I just want to, ask God to help me and give me what to say and how to say it. And the goal of this video is to help me vent and to acknowledge my part in how I ended my marriage, how my part in helping my marriage to come to an end, or causing my marriage to my 30-year marriage to come to an end. And it's so long. I wanted to share it on my Facebook, and it's for me more so than for you, because most people say the TMO, but this is what God put on my heart, and this is what I'd like to share. First of all, let me start by saying my name is Patrick Davis, and that I'm 59 years old. Okay. Now, when I first started my addiction to drugs, I think I was I remember I was in the 6th grade, and I was going to the 7th grade. It was the summer of me leaving elementary, yes, going to junior high. Over that summer is when I started smoking weed. So I want to speed this up, kind of want to sum it up. I'm sure I'm going to have to do this in several parts. Okay, so over the summer, I had a friend who his sister smoked weed, and back in the day. Now, keep in mind, it's way back in the 80s, so or before that, the 70s, because I graduated in 82. So this way in the 70s, keep in mind. Back then, it wasn't no loud and all this weed. Now, it was weed with seeds in it. And I remember my best friend, he had a sister who smoked weed, and she used to keep it in a shoebox lid under her bed. And she didn't think that her little brother knew about the weed. And so he would take weed out the box and smoke it, and I didn't know anything about it. And then he shared with me that he was smoking weed, and that I was like, I wanted to smoke some, but I knew it cost money and it was expensive. And he said, my sister has it, and I can get it for free. Pretty much all we want. She kept a lot of it, or maybe she was selling it because she had a large amount of it, because he was able to take so much that she didn't miss it. So that's when I started smoking weed. Speed up, not to go into so much detail, but because most of this I want it to be about my drug addiction, and not so much about my life growing up being bad and going to juvenile hall, youth authority, and all this other stuff. So I guess that's part of it, but I want to make this more about how my marriage ended, and why my marriage ended of 30 years on Christmas Day, this past Christmas, 2023, and how now my wife doesn't talk to me, nor my 3 boys that I had by her. Okay. So first of all, like I said, I first started using drugs over that summer from 6th grade to 7th grade. So that's how it all started. And then I got in a lot of trouble, went in and out of juvenile hall, and then I went to youth authority, and then I got out. I was 18 years old. 18 years old, I started working for one of the biggest drug dealers in Oakland, California. And it first started as he employed me as he had his own business, and he employed me doing construction work. And then as he began to trust me, he began to bring me into the drug industry, where I became his enforcer and his bodyguard, drug dealer, and the enforcer. And then it said moving on. He got busted. I didn't. And so I kept on doing my thing in the streets. Then I ended up working for one of the next biggest drug dealers, which was named the Moores, Mickey Moore and Manuel Moore, if anybody know about Oakland, California. And then they got busted, and I was just a lieutenant working for them. Then I worked for another big drug dealer, and he was really kingpin. And not to get into all the details, they were all kingpins. One, when he was busted in Oakland, California, they described him as the distribution center for Oakland, California. He distributed to all the major drug dealers, all of them. That was the first person I worked for. And then the second person was the biggest gangster / one of the biggest drug dealers running Oakland and gangs in Oakland, California. And so anyway, that's where my drug addiction really grew and started. Once I got out of jail and youth authority from going back and forth, I started going back and forth in juvenile, in juvenile hall when I started like around 11 years old, going to juvenile hall, in and out. And then just a summary of kind of my background. At the age of 15, I got 2 to 6 years in the youth authority for armed robbery, for two armed robberies and possession of a loaded firearm, which was a .38 snub nose. So, and then when I went to the youth authority, got out, I was 18 years old, and then that's when I started working for these drug dealers that I just named. So I'm telling you this background to show where my addiction started. So now keep in mind, these people had so much drugs that, you know, I could do all the drugs and coke and everything I wanted, and we had everything. So that's how my drug addiction started, by having plenty, and like it never ended, and, you know, had an amount that never could be, you know. So anyway, so now fast forward, I met my wife in Oakland, California at a nightclub. And then we were together for like 6 years before we got married. And then we got married, started having children. These are the 3 children that I'll be talking about in this clip, in this video. Now, we got married, I think I was about 20, long story made short, I'm 59 now, and we've been married for about 30 years, and I'm 59 now. And so what happened is that my wife and I, just a little background, I raised my children. Keep in mind that I never met my father. I never seen even a picture of my father. I'm not indicting my mom by any means, or, you know, my mom did a great job, excellent job as far as I'm concerned, raising us. She holding down a home. She has purchased a home and everything. And I never met my father. So I believe that had something to do with it. And like, you know, my mom had to work and be gone all the time. And so like the streets kind of raised me, because she spent a lot of time at work, and then like she kept us in control, you know, did the best she could, took us to church every Sunday, Monday, Wednesday. It was Sunday school. Then we had evening service. Then we had Monday night prayer. Then we had Wednesday Bible study, and Friday was Holy Ghost night. I grew up hardcore Pentecostal, where they got on their knees. They handed you a pillow when you walked in, and you go on your knees and pray for an hour every time before every service. That's how hardcore I grew up as a Christian. And keep in mind, at the same time, I'm still doing my thing of trying to get out in the streets. Now, I had a stepfather over me for a while, and that didn't work out. That my mom married my stepfather that was only over us for like, I don't remember how many years. It wasn't long, 5 years, something like that. And then they broke up. And so then now I'm wild. I'm in the streets while my mom worked. So I just was in the streets. So I was in the streets between when my mom was at work or whatever. So that gives you a little background of like how my drug addiction and appetite for drugs and everything and my mindset, you know, is. Okay, now coming all the way up. Now, since my wife and I left California, I think I was about 24, 25, something like that, about 24, 25, when we left Oakland, California, moved to Houston, Texas. Every year might not be exactly accurate. And we lived there for about 10, 11 years. So after 10, 11 years, we moved here to Florida, to Florida. So, excuse me. Since I've been in Florida, we've lived at 3 different addresses. So the first address we lived at, these uh, my 3 children, they were always into something. They was always putting stress on our relationship, which was normal because they were not, excuse me, pollen. So they were not grown on anything yet. So we stayed there. I think not thinking anyway. We lived in 3 different places. My children gave it, like, put us through what kids do, getting in and out of trouble. My youngest is 19, then I have one about 25, and then another one like 35, 30, 33. And so that's what they are right now. And so we moved from there here in Florida. Then we moved to our next place. I don't know what's going on. Please excuse me. So the second place we moved to. Now keep in mind, my children have gotten older, especially my 2 oldest, and basically my youngest should have been the only one living with us. My middle son and my oldest son continuously moved out and moved back, and that affected our marriage in a negative way, as you can imagine. And they would most time bring their girlfriends with them. Like their girlfriends would come over and not leave and spend nights and stay. And keep in mind, we live in a very small place, 2-bedroom with 3 kids, and their girlfriends trying to come over and they sleeping in the living room. So I always was, trying to work with my children and make them happy. And so that just for peace sake and, just keep the family together. Keep in mind, I never met my father ever. Never seen a photo of him. My father never raised me, but I made it up in my mind that was not going to be the case for my children. I want to speed this up a little bit. So I took it upon myself to do whatever it took to keep the family together and keep peace in the house. So now we moved to the place. From there, we there for about 12 years, 10 years. And then we moved here. We moved to where I am in this house, where I'm sitting in this house, which is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. And now when we moved here, my middle son moved here with us. And it was me, myself, my wife, and my middle son. Now, my middle son, when he first moved here, after all I've done for him, I let him come home, and I worked with him through his, not to tell all his business, he had a very extremely bad crack habit on the pipe. And keep in mind, I was on drugs to say that I've been on drugs, like I told you, since, and I never stopped. I've sobered up several times, for short periods of time, a year here or whatever, a year here and 6 months there and it's like this, but it's been ongoing. So then, so I'm struggling. I'm dealing with my drug addiction, which was cocaine. And to be more specific, honestly, it was crack and weed. But in Oakland, I had an issue with smoking the crack pipe, I admit. And then when I moved to Florida, I realized all the mistakes and how damaging it was, and the things that it was just so fast that I was losing things. So I stopped smoking crack and started smoking crack mixed with weed. And so the crack mixed with weed would stop me from wilding out and, blowing all my money and putting things in the pawn shop. So, I was like a functioning addict, as they say, or a functioning, like they say, a functioning alcoholic or whatever. In other words, like I would work or be willing to work or could hold down a job and things like that. And still, but I had this habit. So now keep in mind, this is setting a bad example for my boys. I own up to, for my sons. Now, my wife, she smoked weed when we was in Oakland, California, and she really had a bad problem with it too. Was out of control with her, not being able to control herself on marijuana, on weed. So keep that in mind. Now, because of health issues, it's the only reason my wife stopped smoking weed and drinking. And she never had a drinking problem. She drank beer and she smoked weed seriously and really got a problem with it. Very, very not controlled, couldn't control it. So now she is not. So because of health reasons, her high blood pressure, and she had, high blood pressure, borderline diabetes, overweight, things like that. So things she was struggling with. This is the reason she stopped. smoking weed. So let's just keep that in mind. It's not like she just sobered up and didn't want to do it anymore. She couldn't do it because of her health. So now she's the only sober one in the house. Myself, all three of my, both my oldest sons and my youngest son, not yet. And so now by the time I move here, my oldest son, myself, and my middle son is influencing my youngest son because of our habits and what we're doing. And so now then my youngest son joined in. So that's what happens. That's what happens actually at the place before here. Because he was so young and he wasn't smoking weed to the best of my ability at the first place that we moved here. The second place he started in smoking weed. So all four of us smoking weed. My wife not smoking, not doing anything because of her health issues. Now we come here, and now all of us are using. Myself, my kids, and keep in mind my middle son, my oldest son had a very bad weed problem, drinking problem issue. My middle son, he was on crack pipe, got off the crack pipe, got on Molly, ridiculous, in and out of jail, going to boot camp and in and out of jail over this, and out here robbing people and everything for this stuff. So now I'm using, everybody using. Now we move here. Now my youngest son moves here. Let me get it right. And my middle son moves here. So I don't, he had a right to be here because he was so young and still I had obligations to take care of him. Now my middle son did not. And he was just in and out and walking. At certain points, he was on the streets and pimping and everything and all kind of stuff. And anyway, we ended up getting evicted because of my wife's bad management of money. And I'm not saying it's all my fault, but like the drug things was the issue. But my kids was having, I was having money. My parent, my mom would help me, and I would come up with money. And at that time, she was applying for to be disability, Social Security. And so keep in mind that I aided her, and my mom took care of her for like 4 years because she worked zero. Now keep in mind, I loved her through it and her health issues. So now, then we come here, my youngest son come here, my middle son, and then we got evicted out the other place because of mismanagement of money, because my wife was always in charge of the money. My wife would have the money, but she'll hold on to it till we beg it out of her. You get what I'm saying? And then we have to come up with ways to put it back. But I'm not blaming her or saying, I'm just telling you what my part was. But this what was happening, and she was not a good steward over the money. She wouldn't pay the bills and not pay them to where they needed to be when she did have the money. She was more concerned about keeping us happy. That keeping it, being able to give us money and this, here. And we would beg her out of money because we knew she'd have the money. She'd get the money for the bills and hold it. And plus she would always go through a lot of programs and free programs and waiting. If you ever known anything about getting your rent paid and getting your power bill paid. So we spent a lot of that time. She spent a lot of time on that. She preferred to instead of pay the bill, she tried to get free stuff. She was always into trying to get some free stuff, some free food, free rent paid, free power bill. And so that caused that as it bubbled and messed up with all of us being responsible for it. So she had her part in it too. We get evicted. We got evicted at the first place also, and she was in charge of the money. Same similar thing, mismanagement of money. And because the money was in the house. So I'm just rolling it up. So now we here. Now, I'm here. Now, we here now. This is right before. Now, I'm going to speed this all the way up to now. I'm still doing my drug addiction. I'm still smoking crack and marijuana and drinking. Okay. Not really holding down a job right like I should be. And just, doing construction work and labor and these things like that. That's my part. My sons, with my oldest son would not hold down a job and keep a job for long because he kind of had some racist issues with other people in the other race. You get it? And he was on that page, that Black Power kind of page, so he couldn't keep a job. My middle son, same issue, but that it was his drug addiction that he was wrestling with, that he couldn't hold down a job. Keep in mind, I never really fully held down a job too. I'm just admitting it. So, but being honest, my mom would help me a lot. She's financially well off, and my brother, my youngest brother. And so I would rely on that a lot for as far as my part. And so that wasn't 100%, but I did pull my way through that, through me working, the part when I did work and was able to work, my family helped take care of me on my part. So I got to own up to that. Now they couldn't keep jobs, so therefore they couldn't get out on their own. They kept getting evicted and kept not being able to stay out our house. So starting at the other place, they was affecting our relationship really bad with the drug addictions and the not holding down jobs. Then they come here, so I try to help them. My youngest son wasn't even responsible to do anything, and my middle son, he wrestling with drugs and won't pull his weight. So we pull in his weight and our weight here at this 3-bedroom, two bath house, which is it costs. So then now we're getting close, and so here's coming up to how my part and how my marriage of 30 years ended on Christmas Day. So now speeding up. So here's what happened. That when now my middle son, he meets a girl, and he decides that he want to move in with her, knowing that the only way we could afford to live here, he had a job at this time. He had a job and he had got to a point and he was pulling his weight and, still doing drugs. So soon we move here, like 2 months in, not even 2 months in, he moves out, moving with a girl. And I beg him, I tell him, I say, I need your help. We need your help. That's why we're going to be able to afford this place, is because with your help and your income. Well, it don't matter, Dad. You guys keep getting evicted and it's going to keep happening. And so I'm just telling you, it broke my heart and left us. So putting us in a financial bind. He moves in with this girl who already have another a child by somebody else or whatever. He has no children by or anything. He moved in to help her and leaves his blood. So that hurt me. I was like, oh, okay, whatever. And so like now, and speeding up, that my oldest son was gone. He left the state and moved out of state, and he left a couple of times to move out on his own, and ends up in the end staying with a friend and his mom, and never getting his own place. He had never gotten his own place, and still to this date, he's 33, 35 years old. I don't even keep up with it, being honest. That's sad, but he's like 35 years old, and he never had his own place. My middle son has never had his own place. And so he's like 26. My other son like 34, 35, and they never had their own place. So showing their maturity. So like in judging me, talking about I keep getting evicted, but you get what I'm saying? So now my oldest son gets evicted. He comes back home. I let him come back home, even though we didn't get along well at all. And we never really was that close. So I let him come home. Now come here to stay in this bedroom sitting right here behind me. So now he comes here. He has a child by his baby mama, and now I got a granddaughter. And he's having a hard time visiting her and being able to contact her and spend time with her because the baby mom lives with her grandmother, and it's all messed up over there, and it's not cool and convenient. So I let him and I let his grandbaby start coming over here and spend a lot of time in the nights and days and practically living here. Then the mom got all emotional over it, and then I let her come stay because he would mope and drag around here and beg me to let her move in. So now I got my grandbaby living here in the room right here behind me. He living here, my old son, like 32 years old, and then he drags his baby mama in here. Not married, his baby mama. I let them move. Now, the room that's in front of me is another bedroom right here in front of me. So now, during the pandemic and COVID and everything hit, my youngest son was able, through all these programs and everything, to move into a place. He didn't have the job and the means or anything. It was all just that he met a girl who had a job and she was working, but he wasn't really willing to work and couldn't hold down the job. So he was moved. He had a room, so he didn't move in. He's always lived with us. You understand? Because he was only like 17 at the time when I moved here, 18, 17. And so he's here. I let him and his less than 18-year-old, they both 17. And I let his his girl had a job and everything. And he was like, Dad, I can help you with some money if you let my girl move in. And then I said, no, that ain't cool because I already got enough issues and drama going on and that don't work out. It's going to affect our relationship. He mopes around here and drags around here and begs me, try to do all kind of favor things, be all nice and kiss up to me and everything, and kept begging me. And then he just went into this stage of depression and moping. And then she started having all kind of hardship out there with her parents and stuff who was wrestling with drugs. Her mom and dad was on drugs. So I said, okay, I'm going to let her move in. It'll benefit me and help us. Let her move in. Now, keep in mind, now this is the situation before we go out of town. Then now, my wife, she's here, and here come Christmas. This past Christmas, 2023. So now we want to have, they're having a family reunion in Louisiana. And now she want to go up there. So what happened, this is the summary of what happened, is that we bought tickets for all the whole family that's in this house for us to go there and fly there. Now, at the last minute, because my oldest son, Dave, was moving into a place, they pulled out the deal and messed the whole deal up. And keep in mind, it was his idea, my oldest son, to even go to the family reunion, and got my wife in on it and got us all fired, and got her all fired up about it, who dragged me into it, which I really didn't want to go, because every time that we go, my wife and I, we go to the family reunion in Louisiana, we always get into a fight every single time. So that's why I didn't really want to go. So my wife get on my case. You never take me nowhere. We never do anything. And we wasn't getting along well before that. My wife and I was getting along terribly. The sex was bad. We couldn't communicate. She would intentionally do things like to me intentionally, like mess up the sex and the bill she was like, she'd be responsible to pay tickets and stuff like I was supposed to have, and things that tickets I had and stuff. She would let them all lapse and mess up and start doing this stuff intentionally to mess me up for some reason. That obvious, because we getting along bad, and it probably was just time for us to break up. We would break up like 3 times a month. I mean, like, it's over. I'm done. This was happening like 6 months, 8 months before this trip happened. So we already was on terrible terms. We had and all of it almost was because of the kids being here and all the drama going on. All the madness and stuff, and the stuff going on in here. The kids ran up to me. My oldest son pushed me and pretty much assaulted me one day, and didn't have nowhere to go. I still let him stay there. He punched me like in my shoulder. My shoulder's still stiff. And right now, to this day, just a little bit still stiff. He hit me, his own dad. My youngest son stood up to me over at the other place and wanted to jump on me. And all this, they got very big and disrespectful and all this in the house. Now, keep in mind, I keep loving on them. I keep on forgiving them. Now, this had happened with my oldest son, and I let him still stay here. And then, so like all this funk. So now, when I started getting into it with my kids, or my kids started getting into it with me, then my wife turned on me. And that's when she started not paying my bills, tickets and stuff that she caused my license to get suspended, and doing things intentional and fussing at me, disrespecting me in front of the children, knowing that, don't let your boys come in the house. Don't let your kids come back home in your marriage and in your relationship. She started using the kids as her protection, as her, he could only say so much, and he only gonna get so mad at me. And he could only, I never hit her, ever. Never put my hands on her, never snatched her, grabbed her up, slapped her, none of that stuff, ever. Threatened her. So keep in mind, she would hide behind the kids and tell them all my business. And then when she get mad at me, they would be mad at me. So I was living with that for at least 6 months before all this happened. Keep in mind, my oldest son had assaulted me, and I didn't put him out, didn't call the police on him. I still let him stay here, and his girl and my grandbaby. My youngest son would disrespect me regularly, at least once every 2 weeks. To disrespect me and stand up to me and tell me off, and wouldn't listen to what I say and do what they want to. Keep in mind, this was going on with my oldest son and my youngest son and my wife. They all were disrespecting me and this, that, and that. Keep in mind, this house is in my name only. Ain't nobody else's name on the house. So I'm like, this is getting ridiculous. Y'all need to leave. If y'all gonna keep doing this, you need to just leave. Oh no, you need to leave. I said, y'all gonna go. Y'all gonna get out of here, because y'all are just intentionally tormenting me and disrespecting me. No, you're gonna go. They tried to kick me out my own house with the name in my house. And they did. And they came close to me leaving. They was just really tormenting me. So now this is the condition that's going on when we breaking up. My wife and I literally saying it's over and it's done 3 times a month for the last 6 to 8 months, saying it's done. So these leaving periods where I felt that she was cheating on me, and because just things that were happening and stuff. So I didn't trust her when she left and did things, and she was doing things that were unusual. I can't confirm that or prove that, but that's what I felt. I did not trust her anymore. And for some reason, she didn't trust me, even though I was around and did everything and came back home. She didn't trust me, obviously, of something. She never told me that. And she didn't respect me. She she wouldn't cuss at me, but she'd be so rude and disrespectful and give me these evil looks and mess up my, the sex intention, cut me off, wouldn't do nothing with me for a month and all this stuff. Excuse me. And so this is the condition before we leave. So now I keep on. I'm the only one ever apologizing. Well, so we're just. She was cool with we stay and broke up, and she would never. We'd just have sex and act like it was and like it's made up, but she would never say, "Baby, I'm sorry." I would always say, "Baby, I'm sorry. Forgive me." Boom, boom, boom. Let's do this. Let's just try to work on. I wanted to do. Okay, we cool. We back together again. We broke up and got back together. Cussing me, saying we back together again now. We cool, right? She would never say that. It's going on for 8 months, 6 to 8 months, like that. And so I'm the only one, caring that much about the relationship. She was cool with it just being broke up. That's why I didn't trust her, because we break up and she wouldn't care to resolve it. She would never ask for forgiveness. She would never say, I'm sorry. She never told me she loved me. I would tell her I loved her, occasionally. But she'd tell my middle son that was here, every time she got on the phone with him and every time she got off, she could talk to him 5 times a day and tell him, I love you. Okay, at the end of the conversation, I love you. All right, I love you. I love you. I mean, she talked to him 3 times. Every time she hang up, I love you. How do you think that made me feel? But she never told me I love you, So that's how much animosity and envy or something, or I don't know what's going on, that she was mad at me and never forgave me. She held on to things. She never let stuff go, because every time we got in an argument, she'll bring up stuff from way back 20 years ago. So anyway, I'm not indicting her, because this is about me confessing what my part is, but I'm just giving you some background, laying down a foundation to get to the point. Now, I said, okay, I want to do something. She's like, so my oldest son come up with the idea to go to the family reunion. And he'd been with us before. We went to the family reunion 3 times in a row. And every time that we got there, one time we was there, her sister kicked us. We drove up there in a van. We drove up there in a van from Texas, and her sister got into it with me and then kicked me out the van and my wife and my kids out the van and drove back to Texas by herself. And we didn't have the money, and my family had to send me money to bring back my whole family. That's the first time it went down. That was at a family reunion. The second time it went down, what happened at the second time? Oh, I would have drew a blank. The second time I went down there, every time she get around her family, she act a fool. She be disrespectful. She ignored me. Totally, 100%. So that time, we down here for Christmas. We get into an argument about how much she ignored me and how much she paying attention to her children. To her family, and ignoring me and being rude and disrespectful to me and talking crazy and stuff in front of her family. So it was so bad that I left the city that we was in Lafayette. We was in Franklin. I had to go. I left the city to go to a motel in Lafayette and stayed there to the end of when it's time to go back. For like 3 days. Like I was there 1 day with the family and 2 days in the motel. And then when she was finished doing whatever she wanted to do, and then as we getting ready to leave and go back to the airport, she had to come back to Lafayette. Then they picked me up and take me to the airport. And that's how much effect they had done to the relationship, and how much her sister would influence her. Mainly it's her sister. Her younger sister influencing her to go against me because she never liked me. I don't know what's going on. So now that's the second time that happened. Every time we go down there, we break up or get into it so bad, and the sister is always in the middle of it. Now, all the way up to right before, this is how it happened. Now, this past Christmas, 2023. Now, the plane trip fell apart. I told you about with the tickets and everything. We had to get a refund, and it was a delay on like how long it took to get that money back from those tickets that we all had went on went in on to go down there to fly down there. Now my oldest son pulled out at the last minute for whatever reason, and did because he was moving into a house. Because by the time I got back here, he had moved out. When I left to go to Louisiana 3 days before Christmas, he was still living here. And when I got back, they were gone, had moved out to their own place. So now it was just my son was going to be here and myself and my wife. So now keep in mind, I said, okay, I'm going to do something. She tell me I'll never take her nowhere. We never do nothing. I said, okay. And knowing full well, I was the fool for even going up there. I said, I'm going to drive you up there to do the family reunion. We get work done on the car. The work that was done on the car didn't stand up. So by the time we get there, the car did had some issues running, and we needed to put it in the shop, or could need to put it in the shop to get back, because the people that didn't, they hadn't fixed it right, and then I had messed up some money because of my drug abuse that I should have put more money into the car to make sure it was fixed 100%. I take that. So now I get up there, the car's pretty much broke down, needing to go to shop, need to get some help. So soon we get there, we drove up there, and so now the car's sitting there, need to go to shop or need to be fixed. So soon I get there, I asked one of the family members, can I get a floor jack so I could take a look at it? Because I didn't bring a floor jack. I just had a regular jack, and I have AAA. I'm a plus member. If I had a flat or anything or the car broke down, I would have got it towed. So I didn't need that. So I get there, I ask the family members for a jack. They don't give me no jack. Hey, nobody cared to give me a jack. Now keep in mind, now before we leave, keep this in mind. I missed this part. Before we leave, my youngest son and his girl quit their jobs right before we leave, as if they anticipating something like, and they all, keep in mind, my wife was sick of being in Florida. She talked about it. She was sick of, I guess, going through she was sick of going through what she was. She always talking about she's leaving Florida. She hated here and she wanted to move to Texas. Now keep that in mind. Now, then my son, right before we go on the trip, my son and his girl quit their job, take the most valuable stuff with them, all of it. And then my wife, she takes all her most expensive purses and some paperwork. And I'm going, why are you taking all that paperwork? You never know. She took a lot of her personal paperwork and her most expensive purses and the stuff that all the outfits that she liked the best, right? Like this is some, she, in the end, I didn't realize this though. They was planning to leave, to go there anyway, to go stay with the sister and leave me at that point. And so long story made short, on Christmas Eve, we all drinking and partying and everything. My kids become extremely disrespectful and rude to me. Really, it starts with her youngest, my wife's sister, who has a son who is LGBTQ. And because the year before we was in Georgia for Christmas and the sister came down, we had no problems because she wasn't in control. It was at my son's house. The whole thing went down at my son's house. Everything went perfect. I was using drugs. I'm not saying, everybody did their thing. It wasn't no problem. Nothing happened. Me and my wife didn't get in no problem, nothing. Perfect. Her LGBTQ son started some mess and stuff and tried, we got him towed and I got him towed. So she was upset about that. Keep that in mind. So now, fast forward up to there. Now, we up here on Christmas Eve, everybody drinking and partying and everything. Drinking and partying and everything. So my wife says, okay, we had a room booked, but she said we could save some more money. Don't take the room. We'll go. She had rented a, one of them LB things, whatever. She rented this big house so all the family can stay in it. And so everybody had a room. And so that everybody could get a room there and save money. We could all be in one spot. But she said she got an extra room. Let's take a room there and save that money. I said, okay, knowing that she don't like me. So she puts us in a room with a TV no bigger than 17 inches with no cable, no internet. You couldn't cast to the TV. You couldn't play no video game on it or nothing, and put us in that room. Now, I ain't got nothing to do but sit there, me with my addiction, and just, drink, parties, Christmas Eve. I ate, I interact, stuff. But so I'm in the room and she down here with her sister and just staying away from me. Like she hate me or something, or like just what always happens every time she get around her family. And disrespectful, wouldn't listen to anything I say, wouldn't come up and spend no time with me. And so I get upset Because now we got a car that's pretty much broke down, or I'm a good mechanic. So I know what I could do with a car. So I go out and look at the car and I say, oh, okay, I can get this car to make it home. Let's just go home, because we got this car issue. And keep in mind, when she left with bills in debt, she didn't pay the rent. She paid like, a small portion on the rent, the bills. She left the bills behind just to go do this, just to go to this family reunion. Left the bills behind and us in debt, and still spent. It cost us $600 in gas just to get there. So now we get there. She's telling me she don't got no gas money, and she tell me that before she left, she said my money is tight, but my sister said don't worry about it. I'll get you home. She meant that she'll get her home. She didn't mean she'll get us home. So now the car having issues and this and another. And I said, well, since it's Christmas Eve, I'm kind of having trouble with the issues with the car. We need to leave early so we don't get caught up in all that traffic and have no car issues, because it's just bad and sad, but we need to leave. No, I'm not leaving. I refuse to leave. And I said, well, I got the car running and this, that, and other, and we can pack up, and because of the car trouble, we need to leave early. No, you go ahead and leave. I'm not leaving. So the sister jumped into it. Yeah, you go ahead and leave, and I'll fly her home. I said, I can't drive 4 states back by myself. That's dangerous. And, get tired. Need somebody to help me with the GPS, help keep me awake. Because we drove straight through. We didn't stop getting no motel. And our money was so tight, we couldn't afford to stop and get no motel. And plus, if we stop and got a motel, we get caught up in all that Christmas holiday traffic. So I'm trying to avoid traffic. No. You just go. There it is again. I'm back in the same boat. Now I'm upset. Now the LBGTQ son, because the Christmas before, he got checked about being such a flamboyant LBGTQ on our videos for the Christmas and stuff. He got checked. So now he's still mad. Now he started a bunch of mess. He started the mess right all over again, like back at Christmas. And he's the one who kicked it all off. Like he kicked it off last year, but they couldn't do nothing. He couldn't really affect nothing because he was at my son's house. So they wasn't in control. But this time his mama's in control. His brother had came up there. His uncles that came up there. Everybody was there that was on his side of the family. So now he gonna show his behind. He showed his behind so bad that got me so upset. That's when I was like, yeah, I'm just ready to go now. Come on, babe, we got to go because we already got to go back early. No, I ain't going. She refused to go. So then they calmed me down. Oh, it's all right, man. Come on, man. Come on here, take this, do this. We're going to do this, get you some of this and that. Boom, boom, get you a little more. Here's some more weed, whatever. Chill out, man. It's going to be all right. It's going to be all right. All right, cool. Now my youngest son started in on me, disrespecting me, getting me told, telling me what I can't do and telling me to shut up and all this other stuff. Then my middle son get into it. Keep in mind, my oldest son didn't come. So now my middle son then turned against me. My youngest son then turned against me. My wife then told me F you. And the LBGTQ was back there in the background just kicking it up. So now I'm drinking intoxicated. So the crap hit the fan. Now I said, man, y'all better come on and get ready to go, man. This ain't working out. It's just bad. Let's go. You know what I'm saying? My youngest son and everything. It's time. His girl and my girl. No, we ain't doing nothing, man. He cussing me out and all this stuff. I get so mad and so upset. So I just burn off in the car and just go to cool off for a while, right? No, I try to go back in the house to get the rest of my stuff. They wouldn't let me get the rest of my stuff. They wouldn't let me go up there, and I was intoxicated. They wouldn't even let me go back in the house because I'm mad. And so like, what's up with this? Like they always in on some plot, like, you're like they baby mama through with me, ready to leave me. That's the conclusion of something. Like she wasn't going home with me. And the kids that quit their job, they didn't have no reason to come home with me. And they all wanted to move to Texas anyway. So all this jump off right there. And they telling me they tell me, you just go, you leave. So I try to go back in the house to get the rest of my stuff. They wouldn't even let me in the house. All these people and her parents, her brothers and cousins and uncles and all this stuff wouldn't let me go back in the house, period. You up too upset. You need to go calm down. They wouldn't let me come back that whole night. Christmas night, I spent alone sitting in a gas station parking lot, alone in the car, freezing. It was like 27 degrees, freezing with all my stuff in the car. Then so like when I got ready to leave and everything, I realized that I had left my wallet and my ID and my Cash App card and everything in the house. So I called to try to get it back. They won't answer the phone. They left me in there freezing all night. So then the next day, I tell them don't. So no. So when I finally leave and pull off and just like to get away from them, they wouldn't let me back in the house. So they wouldn't let me. So they wouldn't let me back in the house. And so like I'm down here at the gas station, freezing in the middle of the night. I said, I'm freezing. You know what I'm saying? And then I didn't know my way back because I didn't have my Jeep. I didn't have the GPS. I didn't know my GPS. I couldn't get back to the house. I didn't know how to get back to the house. It was dark and everything. And my phone kept dying because my cord went bad or something to charge my phone. So anyway, she wouldn't talk to me. She wouldn't text me. So the next day, her brother come down there. And so, when I left, I said, well, y'all just don't come home. You know what I mean? Like, since y'all want to act this big a fool, don't come home. I put my wife out and I put my son out and his girl right there in Louisiana. I said, I'm just going to go back home then. If I got to go back and risk my life, drive back by myself, y'all gonna disrespect me like this. Y'all said y'all want to be here in Texas anyway. Just stay here. So then now I'm at the gas station stuck. Everything closed. Keep in mind, you can't get no money wired to you. My money low. She had all the money, because she was always let her be in charge of the money. They wouldn't let me get the wallet. I had a couple $100 in my pocket. They wouldn't let me get my money. They take all the money. I had $200 in my wallet, take all my money off my wallet. And then I said, bring me my wallet and I'm just going to leave. They bring me my wallet empty. So all I got, I don't even got my Cash App card. And then I said, bring my Cash App card then. So I had to call Barely. She gonna answer the phone, tell me you did this. It was all your fault. Just leave. You was leaving anyway. Just keep going. That's what she tell me. Now keep in mind, she said that. I haven't talked to her since. She would not talk to me on the phone, would not text me or nothing. Like, this crap was already planned anyway. My kids wouldn't talk to me, nobody. So I'm sitting in the gas station parking lot, a little 7-Eleven parking lot, freezing Christmas night by myself. Yeah. So then I finally get my money together. I turn a few screws on the car and top off all the fluid and burn off. Drive 4 states home all by myself. Make it home all by myself. So now to this day, that's how it all happened. That's how my family, that's how I end up losing my wife, whatever. My wife and I broke up. That's what happened 3 months ago. And she refused to talk to me. I asked her, I tried to forget, asked her to go through people and try to text. I text her. She was getting the text. I could see. I asked her to forgive me that ain't what I wanted to do. She would not even communicate with me. She wouldn't forgive me. Like, that's what she wanted to do anyway. You know what she tells me? She got a whole closet full of clothes and shoes, all the stuff she left behind, told me to throw it away. I'm not coming back no more. She texted me one text, told me that all this is your fault. Throw away all the stuff. I'm talking about a whole closet full of dresses, clothes, shoes, everything. Other papers she left, purses, nice purses and stuff, all kind of stuff that we couldn't pack in the car, that she couldn't pack in her suitcase. Like, she was planning it anyway. And that's how my marriage ended on Christmas. That's the hour, 47 minutes. I'm looking at it. That's how my marriage ended. And I have not talked to her. I apologized to her. I tried to get her back. I told her I love her. I told her, I was upset. We all had been intoxicated and all this stuff. Could you come back? And then I really, I needed her help to help pay these bills here. I couldn't pay them by myself, especially with my addiction and my income and everything, how it was going. She knew that. She tells me, you're not going to be able to keep that place. Like, she wanted to see me homeless. My middle son texts me. I try to text him. He tell me, yeah, you ain't gonna be able to keep that place. And you up here talking crazy to my mom, and left my mom and put my mom and my little brother out. And then they stopped talking to me, all of them. The next day after Christmas, nobody else. I haven't got a message from none of them. I didn't text them, called them, apologized, try to contact them. They cut me off, blocked me. And that's how I am. I'm sitting here paying all the bills, got to pay the rent, got to pay the power bill, got to pay the water bill, got to pay the car insurance, you know what I'm saying? And they told me that you're not going to be able to keep that place. They want me to be evicted. They want to see me homeless. They know I'm wrestling with drug addiction and this, that, and other, like we all were. And so that's what happened. So once I put them out, because I was upset and everything, and they refused to come back, which, I could relate to. But for them to say that you ain't gonna be able to keep that place, like they speaking things like they want negative things to happen to me, and they not really willing to forgive me. And the sister's in the middle of it again. This is the third time in a row that she's the head ringleader. Now let me tell you a little bit about the sister briefly. The sister is nothing but a gambling, a crook who do nothing but manipulate men. She messed up her marriage, and guess what? She was on the news she had a burger fraud case. Keep in mind, she's a lieutenant. She was a lieutenant working in the prison system, as a security guard, locking people up. And she had rank. She has a gambling problem that's so bad, which is an addiction, that she went into a burger place and got a burger and said it was too raw, sued the place, right? And then tried to go back to the same place and do it again. And she's an officer. She was on the news for fraud in a burger place and went to jail on national news. Felony officer. She was on the news on every channel in every state. I'm not going to say her name because that wouldn't be right. But her sister, now she going to go live with that type of sister. She'd rather be with her. She let that type of sister come in between us again there on Christmas. Now, here's the summary of all this. That's really what I want to get to a point. I feel sorry for my ex because I consider her my ex because, you can just, in the state of Florida, you can put in, all you gotta do is put an ad in the paper for 3 weeks and put an ad in the paper in the state that she's in Texas, and whether she responds to it or not, they'll grant you a divorce. So I'm divorced. I've already done it. I'm divorced. So that's on that. So now I'm single. That's why I got posted on my Facebook. I'm single. I got my divorce. I'm done with her. I don't want her back. She ain't coming back. She's refused to come back. She refused to come back after 30 days. I already started. And then I ran that ad. And so I got my divorce. I'm good. I'm single. So now that's where I am. That's how I end up losing my family. But don't let your children come stay with you. Don't let your children move in and come back home and stay with you. Don't accept all that verbal abuse and rudeness and disobedience in your house. It's going to ruin your relationship. They so selfish. Your own blood will be so selfish. They'll cause you to lose your job. They don't care if you lose your relationship. They'll cause you to lose your health just to get their way. And don't be patient and loving and kind to that extent like I did, to lose everything and be in the position that I am in. Sitting here alone, been here alone for the last 3 months, going through all this mental stuff. You wonder why I post the way I post. And, I'm not sad and regret it or nothing. It just, it bothers me. Something just bothers you and it vexed me to the point a little bit I can't believe it. It's jaw dropping how they treated me. And now they know what I'm going through and none of them will talk to me. Even the oldest son that was already here that didn't even go on the trip, he refused to talk to me. So like his mom mad at me, you put my mom out, my little brother, none of them talking to me. So that's the point. That's why that's where I am right now. That's how I lost my wife. That's how my part in what I did and how I came to my marriage ending of 30 years. So the children had a great deal to do with it. And her family can affect your marriage in a negative way. Her sister never liked me. So that was what kicked it off. She was already talking bad about me and we was already getting along bad months before we went up there. I wish I never went. But God revealed people to you. So she was already, damaged me, like I said, and tormented me with sex and messing up the bills. And when I came back, all my bills were behind. The rent was unpaid. It was like $300 on a $1,400 rent. That's all that was paid on. I had to pay that. That's why they said I wasn't going to be able to keep the place. Because she left me in such a position and all the bills were behind. The water bill, the power bill, the car insurance was due soon we got back. We shouldn't have never went on that trip. And she shouldn't have never went on that trip because we couldn't afford to take that trip. But she took it anyway. So what's up with that? So I think that somehow that this was planned or that was in the back of their mind, or I think that my wife was going to go and stay with her for a few months because we was getting along so badly anyway, and we're going to end up breaking up because if she had stayed away from me for 30 days, I would have been done with her anyway and refused to come home. So that's how my marriage ended of 30 years. Don't let those children, your own blood will break your heart, tear your heart out and stomp it, rip it out and just walk away. Heartless. After, like I say, all that I put up with them, how many times I accepted them back, how I put up with them letting them stay with their mates. They weren't even married and stuff here in my house. How I loved on them. And I never met my dad and never seen my dad. My dad never did a thing for me. And I stood by them. And I took care of them I always took care of my kids and did everything I could to the best of my part to take care of them and how they walk away like that. And I found out, you think you know your mate? I'm telling you right now, you think you know your mate and you think your mate won't never do that? I'm telling you, people you don't know people, man. They'll shock you. They have your jaw drop, y'all. How you looking like that, man? They will rip your heart out, tear it out, rip it out, throw it on the ground and stomp on it. They don't care. You know, once that people mad and you got a mate or, you're in a relationship that people don't let stuff go, get away from them. You know, and I learned one thing. A woman would never love you as much as they love their children. And I want you to run with that. I want that to be your last thought. Man, women will never, ever, no woman will ever love you as much as they love their children. They'll never sacrifice what they'll sacrifice for their children. So once I put my youngest son out and the girl, that's what drew to put the exclamation point behind my wife not coming back to me, because she was not going to leave her son out there, which he's 19 years old, after he disrespected me and everything. She didn't care. Screw me. I'm going with my baby. So keep that in mind. I just want to tell you, I'm good though. But guess what? That caused me to be 100% sober, 100% sober, 100% sober, 100% sober, 100% sober. You hear me? You heard? Nobody but the Lord. So it's working out. I thank God things are as well as they are. I'm going to continue on prayerfully. Thanks for listening to me. I'm about to post this. God bless you. I love you. But God.